How about this? 1 week from today, Idaho lawmakers are expected back at the Statehouse in Boise to take on some business. The Republican-dominated legislature is expected to take up potential action to push back on the Biden administration's vaccine mandate. If you missed it, that mandate looks to require all federal workers to get vaccinated against COVID, and it also looks to require private employers with over 100 employees to require vaccines or host weekly COVID testing for their employee pool. Now, we've heard from Idaho Republicans about returning to take on the mandates, but what about Idaho Dems? Are they on board with the idea or something like it? This afternoon, I spoke with House Minority Leader Illana Rubel for her insight on returning to session 1 week from today.
It's never a good idea to be passing major legislation in 72 hours or less. You really want there's a reason why during session it takes a good month or so. You want time for people to read it and do some legal analysis, change things if they need to be changed, give the public time to weigh in. And none of that is going to be possible in this session. So things are going to get rammed through at lightning speed, probably without adequate legal analysis and without adequate opportunity for the public and business and the business community and whatnot to weigh in and tell us what the impact of these laws is going to be. So I'm a little afraid that big steps are going to be taken perhaps too hastily and that there might be some damage coming out of this session.
I've spoken to some in the community that say, lawmakers are supposed to be back in January. That's not too far away anyways. I know it could wait till then. I'm curious, do you and other Democrat leaders think this could just simply wait till January?
That's exactly how I feel. I don't see why we're going to be back in less than 2 months, and then we'll be back for real during the normal proper procedure where we'll have committees set up and everybody will be there and, the public will have an adequate opportunity to vet things. And I see no reason why we have to go in with our hair on fire, passing things in record time when we could do it in due course and in a more proper manner, I think, if we just wait a short period of time.
Long story short, according to the Attorney General's office, it's not a special session. It's just the resumption of the current legislative session, meaning there's not any parameters on what can and cannot be discussed. I'm curious, are you concerned about a runaway session or conversations that have nothing to do with the Biden administration's vaccine mandates?
I think there's a very serious concern about that. I mean, I know the speaker has tried to put parameters around the types of bills that can be brought, but there's no statutory or constitutional limit on what can come up in this session. So it really could be a Pandora's box. The only thing saving us potentially is Thanksgiving. So the next week is Thanksgiving, and I think that probably lawmakers are not going to want to still be in session through Thanksgiving. So, I'm hoping that will at least contain things somewhat. But again, to me, it makes no sense not to just wait and do things properly at the beginning of January.
And I know some in the community say, well, this sounds like a big waste of taxpayer dollars. Tell me why it isn't.
Oh, well, I think it is. So I would be the wrong person to ask on that. But I mean, even for those who think that, there's a super big emergency with the Biden vaccine mandates, those are going through the courts right now. And, have been challenged. I believe they're actually enjoined at the moment. And that seems to me very much like the proper avenue to address it, because either it's an overreach of federal power and is struck down by the courts, in which case there's nothing for our legislature to worry about, or they're upheld and they are viewed as constitutional by the courts, in which case whatever laws we pass are probably going to be unconstitutional themselves and be struck down through costly litigation. So I see no reason for the legislature to be rushing in right now, given that the question is already being addressed and will likely be resolved by federal courts.
So it sounds like, the Democrats aren't expecting to bring any legislation a week from today, and it's kind of wait until January.
Well, I have one bill that I'm bringing, but the rule we were told was that any bill you bring has to relate to vaccine mandates. So I'm bringing a bill saying that if there is any litigation resulting from any bills that are passed on vaccine mandates, that any litigation costs or any litigation has to be carried through by the Attorney General and no additional taxpayer funds are to be used to hire outside counsel. Because as you know, the legislature has had a habit in recent years of hiring a $500 private attorney on the side, in addition to the Attorney General, that has really caused a great burden to the taxpayers. So I just have a little bill trying to protect taxpayers from some expensive litigation to come out of this session.
So again, that's 1 week from today. So we've established that the Senate has already tried to adjourn for the year and that the House has not. So because of the unprecedented way lawmakers are reconvening next week, Are they actually allowed to come back? That's been a major community question. Well, here's the answer for you. At the end of the special session back in May, the regular session back in May, Senate Pro Tem Chuck Winder and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke asked the Idaho Attorney General's office to weigh in, just in case the House did decide that they did want to come back. Now, back in May, the Idaho Attorney General's office issued their own opinion about the possibility that lawmakers may want to come back. And in it, Chief Deputy Brian Kane starts off by saying that, quote, "This scenario is unique and without precedent in Idaho." He says he believes that because only one house adjourned and not both, it actually doesn't fully count, and that both houses are technically right now in an extended recess. The decision continues saying that, quote, "It is also difficult to ascertain how either chamber could be legally forced back into session and required to take legislative action." So any new laws that they pass next week could end up in a court and ultimately maybe declared null and void in the end. Let's wait and see. Now, what about session costs and lawmaker living expenses? They're usually entitled to those. Well, because the Senate has technically adjourned, any expenses that they occur and they want to try and get reimbursed, well, those expenses must be approved by the Senate Pro Tem Chuck Winder.